All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. Eder Casella's Tech Talk. Today, we're going to be reviewing your top 5 tech savings tips. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll be watching that throughout Eric's presentation and we'll be sure to answer them throughout. And as promised, we're going to stick as close to 30 minutes as possible. So we'll get started and I'll turn it over to Eric.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday Eve. So thanks for taking the time to let me talk to you a little bit today. We decided to do things a little differently. For those of you that might not know me, Eder Vicencio, I'm one of the partners here at Eder Casella Technology. I've been in IT for the majority of my career. I'd say almost all, but I did a little stint in healthcare. So if anybody has a medical emergency, I could probably talk them through it. But I'm a bit rusty. I'm better at fixing computers than people lately. So in my career, I've spent a lot of time in lots of different roles as a tech, as an analyst, as an engineer, a coder, director. And you know, it's an amazing thing that led me here to Eder Casella Technology. And for those of you that don't know my team, I run an amazing team of nerds. We are a bunch of IT nerds for hire. So we have a magnitude of customers all over the spectrum in terms of businesses that we support. So my marketing manager and I came up with this idea like, hey, let's have a quick 30-minute tech talk where we can just come up with some things that we can help our customers or just other people in the community with. And the first topic that we came up with was the top 5 tech saving tips. And if you have any suggestions or you'd like to hear about, a specific topic, whether that being like Microsoft Office, Google Suite, any of those, we'd be more than happy to take them in because we are looking to continue these pretty regularly. We want to get in front of you. We want to give you some information. I want to be able to share my knowledge that I have just in terms of things that, I know a lot of customers and a lot of people in the community are struggling with. So first things first, I have this pretty picture of myself and kind of my bio. I'd be more than happy to share any of the things that are on here with you more. But let's get away from me and let's get down to what you're actually here for. What are the top 5 things that we get a lot of questions about from our customers that we can help anybody with or give them some pointers? The first one is your phone and fax lines. A lot of customers nowadays, they've bought these phone systems years ago, eons ago, and they've been getting a phone bill from a provider all this time. They've never thought to change it. It's working fine. They've not thought to go out and look, hey, is there a cheaper option out there, or is there a more advanced one? Often they have the phone system. They've built their entire business around how their phone system works and not having a phone system that works to how their business should be working, okay? There is quite a few of these voice over IP. Don't let the VoIP little acronym there scare you. Basically, all it means is your phone is running over the internet. There's so many of those out there. There's so many soft phones. Soft phones are a phone that basically runs on your computer. There's so many of them out there. There's so many customer or potential places where you can get these VoIP or soft phones from. Don't be afraid to shop around. Look around. If you have an IT provider, definitely ask them, who do they recommend? We at Eder Casella Technology, we actually don't resell phone systems. We guide our customers to certain phone systems. For example, we absolutely love and adore the Comcast phone system recently. It's been so much better than some of the other traditional voice over IP providers that are out there, and it's Comcast. So if you have Comcast, look for these bundle deals. I know all of the big carriers have these bundle deals where often you will get your phone system for free. I mean, what's better than that? The other thing that some of these newer soft phones and these app-based phone systems offer you is the flexibility to really have your phone be anywhere you are. So the traditional office that you may have dealt with in the past doesn't have to exist that way. For example, Eder Casella & Co., corporate parent, they have a soft phone based system. Their accountants are everywhere. We have payroll individuals that are everywhere. We have one that's in Tennessee all the time, and she's able to do everything that she would in the office from her soft phone based system. That's from, we actually are using the Microsoft built-in Teams phone system. It's a little pricey. I'll tell you that that one's not necessarily going to save you a ton of money, but the integrations that it offers potentially would. Another thing that we're recommending to all of our clients, ditch that traditional fax line. If you still are paying Comcast or AT&T or Frontier for a phone line, what we call a POTS line, you're paying way too much for it. The traditional fax lines are totally going away. I highly recommend you not have the equipment to receive a fax and you go to a digital fax system. E-fax is another way to call it. Basically, when you get a fax, it comes into you via email. You're no longer having to pay for paper, the device, the fax machine that just sits in the corner and nobody knows if it actually works. These have been really good for a lot of our customers, doing both of these options, where they're renegotiating their bills for their phone systems or migrating to a VoIP phone system, and then ditching their traditional fax lines. We've seen a huge decrease of our customers' bills just in terms of what they're paying other providers every month. Along with that, internet service providers, so your Comcast, your Charters, Frontier, AT&T, don't be afraid to renegotiate your rates with them. These companies, they're so acclimated and used to it, but there's a couple of tricks when you're trying to renegotiate your cost with them. Don't be afraid to be fully upfront with them and tell them, hey, we're looking at lowering our costs, otherwise we may be leaving your organization. They will put you into a whole different category than you would elsewise. If you're just telling them, hey, I'd like to spend less money, they're probably going to give you some base rate off the wall. It's not going to really save you that much money. But if you use that keyword, we are looking at canceling in order to get a better rate. They put you into a service recovery almost 100% of the time, and it's great. They will offer you new customer deals, which generally those are only 2 or 3 year deals. I also tell all of my customers, we're going to look at bundles. Bundling internet service provider type of products, you tend to get better rates than elsewise. So a lot of our customers are like, why do we have a digital TV, like the basic TV on there? And it's like, well, when you added that to your service and you did TV along with your internet, you ended up saving a couple $100. And they're just like, really? I added on an additional service and now all of a sudden it's cheaper. Yeah, that's for whatever reason, that's how these companies work. If your company is very much reliant on the internet and you don't have a backup solution that's tied into your main internet solution, like Comcast actually has a great deal. It's called the Connection Pro. If you use the Connection Pro, if you have that on your account, you tend to actually spend less money. And if Comcast itself ever goes down, you have a cellular option that keeps you up and running. It's amazing, and it gets you such a discount. You basically get the Connection Pro for free. There are also deals where if you pay up front for the entire year, or you have auto pay turned on, you get a cheaper rate. And don't forget about those credit card points, because to be honest, if you're paying with a company card, it could save you a lot of money. Now, I'll throw another one on
Eric,
here.
I have a question for you with that. I don't know if you said to hold questions till the end, sorry. If you have your business through your home, will they do that still too? Or do you need to have like an actual business front to get that option with your internet?
So I generally will recommend, if you're not doing this at home, you probably should do this at home pretty regularly. But if you have business class at home, which can do, well, they'll let you end up business class versus regular commercial residential. You tend to pay a little bit more for that business class just because there's some protections that come along with it. So it's always worthwhile actually looking at doing a business class at your home. That and they don't have any data caps generally with the business class lines. Kelsey, great question. If you want to know more, just let me know. I'll kind of give you all the ins and outs of how to do it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sorry to cut you off.
No problem. Now, if I have anybody on here that is a nonprofit, nonprofits, I didn't put this on here, but I wanted to mention it. If nonprofit or governmental, if you're running any of those businesses, you can get additional discounts that normal companies, individuals cannot get. So make sure that your reps know what your nonprofit status is to make sure that you're in the best plan possible for this. All right, next one. Email providers. Everybody's bane of their existence, right? Everybody hates email. It tethers you to your desk. So I'm going to primarily talk about Microsoft Exchange or Google Workplace. Microsoft Exchange, I'll just throw this out there. If you are still the one that says on-prem, if you have a server there that's kind of dishing up your email, please don't. Switch, because you're paying way, way, way too much money, okay? The Microsoft Exchange hosted in Google Workspace is kind of that exact same thing. It's the back-end mail provider that you're kind of connecting to get. If you don't know this currently, Google Workspace and Microsoft both have different levels of plans that get you those emails. Let's say you're paying for your Office licenses, right? You pay not Office 365. Let's say you just buy the license key from a correct provider. You can buy them on Amazon. And you're paying for that, and it's kind of yours, perpetual licenses, we like to call that. But then you have just your mail that you're connecting to, and you're not using Office 365. You're probably overpaying, because once you get to that level of, you have Microsoft Exchange as your mail, you generally can get included in there all of your Office licenses. So it's definitely a good idea to review where your license level is to make sure that you're not overpaying for the things that you're using every day. I threw a couple of additional mail providers on here, like Proton Business. I actually don't have any customers that use this one, but the Yahoo Business or the website host option. A lot of those website hosts will actually bundle in like a free mailbox kind of thing. And there's different things that you can do with those to kind of drive your costs back down, so you're not paying as much for your mail. I love Microsoft Exchange and Google Workspace. Those are the ones that I generally tell my customers that they want to be in. But I totally get it if people don't want to be inside of those two and they want to be somewhere else. Just make sure that you're not paying for licensing that you're not using at that point. Okay. A lot of small businesses, or even mid to large size businesses, always will run into a scenario where the company has a full-blown server at their organization for nothing more than file shares. So I've been telling a lot of my customers, it's okay to actually go ahead and ditch the Windows Server. Windows Server, if you've had to go through the pain of buying a server, right now, for a mid-sized company, you're probably going to be looking to spend $6,000 to $9,000 just in capital and licensing, let alone the cost for a provider to, set it all up and do everything. Where if all you're using it for is files, absolutely not necessary nowadays. There's so many different options out there. You could do a network attached storage. Basically, think of this as like a hard drive that sits on your network that you can read and write files to and from. It's great. You can set up multi-users. So in an organization, you could have 10 users all going to the same NAS, redundant drives, doing backups to the cloud at the fraction of the cost. A nice NAS, to be honest with you, is probably somewhere in the $1,000 range. But that's a much easier pill to swallow than the $9,000 for the server. Once you have the server, there comes a few additional things that Microsoft can do their right to audit, which is they come in and they want to make sure that you have the right connection licenses, actual proper server licensing, because they make it confusing on purpose, right? They want to catch you in these scenarios and they want to be able to find you for things that you're doing. Some of the newer players to the game as well is cloud storage. OneDrive, if you're in the Microsoft space and you're not sure of how you can use OneDrive, OneDrive is basically like a file share that just sits out in the cloud. It's on Microsoft servers. There's also the Microsoft SharePoint. SharePoint back in the day was very cumbersome and complicated to set up. Now it's their Microsoft's option for an actual file share, or it could potentially even be your traditional file share that you're using like on site. AWS S3 buckets are awesome. They are the Amazon Web Services, so everybody knows that Amazon, right? So the web services, what you can effectively do is set up a storage location that's on one of the Amazon servers, and it's spread across all of their servers across the US, and you can actually read and write stuff to it. Don't forget about Dropbox. I know a lot of people know the name. A lot of people have the free account. I'm not here to judge. I see nothing. If you're using a professional Dropbox account and you have a large organization, it's a game changer. You can do file retention. You can do versioning. You can share certain files, but not all. It's an amazingly good product. I highly suggest it. The other thing with Dropbox is if you have a government account, you can also get government or nonprofit. You can get some cheaper rates with Dropbox. They don't always advertise it, but make sure to always ask those questions.
I have Dropbox and I love using it.
The other thing is non-Microsoft servers. Now, a lot of people are like scared a little bit of Linux. Linux can do the exact same thing that your Windows server could do, but it does it much lighter and maybe runs a little bit more efficient. There's a few caveats to that, but if you ever were in the need and you wanted a lower cost option, don't be afraid to look at Linux or Apple. There's actually a Mac Mini that will run Apple Server OS, which runs very similar to Windows Server, but at a fraction of the cost, to be honest. All right. This one's kind of a biggie. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I'll tell you a story. I went into one of my customer sites and he had asked me for a solution for a problem he was having. And he wanted to throw money at new software to bring in to fix a very specific issue. And I had to stop him. And I was like, look, you need to utilize the software that you have. The software that you have will fix your problem. You have software that you're paying for that you're not utilizing, and you also have some process things. And I helped him with both. Okay. With Microsoft Office, a lot of people don't utilize their OneDrive like they should. OneDrive can back up all your files from your desktop. If you're paying for the OneDrive, if you have like the Microsoft 365 Premium, backing up all your workstation, everything, basically, all the files, and it sits out in OneDrive. So if you ever, let's say you're replacing your computer and you just logged into your OneDrive, all of your files come back down to your desktop. It's beautiful. Microsoft SharePoint talked about that. It's like a file share that can sit out there. If you're using Teams and you're sharing files, that's actually what is necessary for Teams. And that's the other one that I have on there. Teams as a collaborative chat effort. Teams, Eder Casella & Co. has been using Teams for quite a while now. And it's such a powerful tool. You can screen share with Teams. You can share files. You name it, you could probably do it. It's worth investigating. If you have licensing for it, not using it, I think you're missing out. OneNote. I always show customers OneNote. OneNote, think of it as a digital notebook, really. If you start throwing notes in there, and they actually have a handwritten transcription method where you could go into meetings, sales meetings, anything, and you're using OneNote, it'll actually transcribe everything for you. And it saves it out to the cloud. So any device that you're on, it actually syncs all the way across. So you can even share notes. Let's say you're sharing notes with, you know, a secretary or somebody or other people on your team. Those tools you may already be paying for, and you're just not utilizing them. Microsoft To Do, personal favorite. I'm a person that loves lists, so I list things out in my Microsoft To Do, and it's just like a little tally mark. Don't tell everybody, but I use it for my shopping list too, like when I'm going to the grocery store. Love it. For those of you that are in the Google Workspace, utilizing calendar, Meet, your chat, your docs, your sheets. So if you're in the Google Workspace, but you're also using Microsoft, you're missing out on some functionality that Google Sheets and even the Google Drive has, just because you're trying to mix the two. If you just take the Google Workspace and just decide to love it, I think you'll save money year over year. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to it. So bonus for all you out there, I know you're just so excited to have an IT person talking to you. Nonprofit technology. If you are a nonprofit and you do not know who TechSoup is, or you don't have a nonprofit governmental account with CDW, Microsoft, Adobe, Google Workspace, you are paying too much money. TechSoup, great organization. Some of the hardware you can still get cheaper elsewhere. But if you are just trying to buy like base level technology, they have the reseller accounts where they're basically getting things donated to them and then charging you a nominal fee. Like you can get Microsoft licensing for like $5 a piece. It's just mind blowing, but totally legitimate. This is one that whenever we have a new government, new nonprofit, we make sure that they have all of these accounts, because I won't even sell them anything unless I can get it cheaper than TechSoup, CDW, Microsoft, Google Workplace in that nonprofit or governmental space. All right, I kept it under a half an hour. I'm so proud of myself.
Thanks, Eric. A lot of great information. We did have one question in the chat so far, so if anyone else has questions, feel free to put them in there. But the first being, is a soft phone over your computer something that you could be used or plugged in for on-air use?
I'm sure it could, actually, and that was probably from Pete, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're doing the recording through your desktop, I don't see that being a potential issue. You just have to make sure that it's a selectable item with whatever broadcasting software you're using.
So if you were taking a call over your computer and your computer was just plugged into the soundboard, would that work?
Most of the time, yes, because with a lot of the soft phones, they're so well integrated that you can dedicate certain audio like speakers and microphones just for that soft phone. So in my Mac, for example, I have my AirPods. I have them set up to only do any of the Zoom things right now. So that way it's not interfering, like my Teams won't try to chime in, because Teams actually integrates pretty well where, you know, if somebody were calling me, it would start buzzing and making noise. Right now, if somebody were to call me, it just actually would ignore them because that's only doing the audio for the Zoom. So the technology is there. You and I just probably need to have a conversation. I'll just come by.
Just swing by one morning when we're doing Uncle Pete in the morning, and we'll have a talk. Throw you on the air too.
Perfect. Any other questions? Anybody out there?
There weren't any other in the chat, but Faye said great information and thank you. And she is a nonprofit.
Oh, perfect. And like I said, if anybody has any sort of ideas or content that they'd like to see or hear, throw it out to Rachel or myself. And we plan on doing these pretty regularly. So yeah, let's get some content and we'll just talk.
I think it's a great thing, especially because I feel like there's always so much information out there, like your slide about utilizing your software. It's really nice to think about that, because I know I spend money on all of that kind of thing, and there's so much that you can use that you don't. So I think it's kind of a nice reminder to like go back, check out what you have and see what you can use.
Exactly. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then I think we can give everybody back 4 minutes, and yeah, we'll see you all next time.
Thank you, guys.